Hello and welcome, as it is the completion of the 16th day of December 2018. Welcome to the Money Charts channel. All bets, trades of the like within each's own risk and their own reward. I reserve the right to use four-letter words when used in proper context within this video. And within the Coinbase exchange for Bitcoin, some of the things that I'm noticing, the volatility is becoming very microscopic, very low, like 3% days. And yeah, it was like 1% in here, but ever since this decline, but mainly this one here, all of these red and green days have got good movement from the lows to the highs. This one here was relatively low on December 14th, but it's pretty big compared to the Saturday and Sunday sessions that have came into place. I've exited at about a third or so out of my hedge position, but what I also think is important to realize is when you have these really low volatile pause moves like we are seeing amongst such, mainly these 3 days, and really for the most part this entire range as well, that you're going to have a decent size move when it breaks either to the upside or the downside. So therefore, on a break below, I think that mathematically increases the chances of a pierce below 3,000 or 2,800-ish, and maybe even lower than that, to be more likely than I would have before. So I've adjusted a few orders a little north of the $33,333 level on the TUSD, but I got in a whole bunch of places from 32 high change to like well into the 40s for different amounts, with most of it being taken out at around 2920 to 3040-ish or so with Bitcoin price. I still think it's going to go there, might not, but if it breaks out up to the upside, of course, then you start talking about filling this empty space. And when you do that, if the market can hold any type of advancement above the 18 via that through time or through price, then you'd be talking about longer term moves. And just like 20,000 was a big high, what's the big low going to be? Obviously the highest it's going to be is around 3,200 at this stage, or the 3,100 and change mark. That is why, of course, I'm buying the Bitcoin with the what used to be tethered, now the TUSD, because I feel that there's a good chance that we'll get a good bounce from the end of this run that we're having whenever it comes to a completion. And I wouldn't be surprised if 2019 is a very good year for cryptos, at least the first part of it, but we'll see. I thought the US dollar index was going to be a really bad year this year as well, and the market's always going to do what it's going to do. So short term, this thing is just like majorly neutral, big resistance there, big support there. So 31 1/3, between 32 and a half is the big range. There's also another level at about 32.80. So I'll just have to wait and see until it takes it out. Let's quickly take a look at the inverse, or the TUSD chart. And we can see the single hour time frame there, but the market's looking relatively bullish, you could say, when you look at it from this way, as is Bitcoin bearish. 18 lows has been tremendous support amongst the 4-hour time frame. And on the daily time frame, we had the 18 average of highs. That was amazing support, resisting from November 28th through that of December the 5th. And then this break here managed its comeback correctionary move upgraded from resisting the 18 highs to supporting the 18 highs. And then it stopped doing such on the breakout December 13th. It's had a few days of that each move going sideways, so it wouldn't be surprising if it breaks this resistance that it has a very decent gain moving forward. Within Litecoin, let's take a look at that next. And this chart here is having a decent sized move, and every single time these markets have a move above the 18 average of highs, then I'm going to want to see how it manages within its correctionary move. So before we look at today, let's just scroll back in time in here. So this is a key top area, and first shot barely getting above here. It successfully corrected it on that time because it got above it in May. So here's another spot here Didn't have that great of a leg higher, but it definitely showed that it was going to make a statement, that is. So it did that. And then it corrects the 18 lows for quite some time, and then we can see after that it resisted. But meanwhile, obviously it was just making major support amongst this level at the time, and from that point forward we can see it just kept going down. So the only test it's had to get above the 18, and really this in August, that doesn't count, was right in here. So it got above the 18 in September, but it didn't correct the 18 lows that well. It supported it for a while, but it was unable to even attempt to get above the 18 average of highs when September 10th and 11th came. And then it got above it again late September as it managed to get up to this 98 handle. But we can see here when it supported the 18 lows again, how it just kept holding that area. It's like I state, this is where it's got to hold, and it never had rallied from here. You can see that this day here, October the 8th, is when it had a green candle up after this point in here, but was never able to get above its short-term resistance. And then you can see on the dates of October 10th and 9th, not a big surprise of this red Dow day, because really October 8th time frame, October 9th, those were the days it needed to make a move to get up to, at that time, the 18 average of highs at 913. It never did so. And then it resisted the 18 lows all the way through, and there's another spot where it gets above it, failing to correct the 18, and there we have it again, gets above it, failing to correct the 18. The more times you test level of resistance, test support, the more likely is you take it out. I'm looking at this the same way. The more times you attempt to revert a downtrend by breaking out and holding that breakout move, the more likely it will. Now, I think it's going to all come down to Bitcoin if this move is going to hold. I think if Bitcoin does make a leg lower to 2,800-ish or so, that this is probably going to have a decent chance of at least coming to the 18 lows, if not even a little worse possibly. But when Bitcoin's ready to bottom, and it's obviously going to get above it and probably have some superior gains. So as it stands right now, the 18 average area is about 73 to about the 76 handle that I'd really want to see it hold. But yeah, 72.5. That ballpark area is what I would be considering to be like one of those must-hold areas. Shorter term time frames have some interesting situations. There's successful correcting through time after it made this move, and you can see just by looking at such in here that you get above this level of resistance and then you correct through time like this. So couple things. Strategy number one, you see this, hey, is this a buying spot because of how it's holding this rally? Well, in this case it worked. And if you buy it as it's breaking, if you're fast enough to be able to buy around 740 to 748, well, that's been working out well as to that point as well. And then now it's been correcting very decently through that of time on the single hour time frame. The range is so clear. It's between that of like 78 low change and 812, 813. So therefore, if you break support, then that means going back to the 4-hour term time frame, key area where you came from is really down to the 740 area. You could have a decent sized fall from that point, if of course that's where it breaks it from. And then breaking through to the upside, well, that's going to probably have a decent leg higher. And especially if you have a good green candle move like this and have a beautiful bull flag pattern, the potential for the gains can be quite large. So what I've done as a trader because of this, it's very simple. I realized that I traded Litecoin against Ethereum at this topish area, so I know my next trade is going to be fine. My trade against Bitcoin was at 799, so I know it's a decent leg higher. And then I went to the Cryptopia Litecoin exchange, and I've looked at all of my markets that were like close to buying, like just 2, 3, 4, 5% away, 7%, even 10, or depending on the market, of course. And then I lowered the bid offer. So instead of waiting to buy something at say 24,000 Satoshi when the price was 26, I might have lowered it to say 20 or 21 or 22. I did that with pretty much a third to 2/5 of my pairings that I have against such. Okay, let's move on to Komodo. And on Binance, on Bittrex, and on Cryptopia, the wallets are back. You can arbitrage normal and send Komodo back and forth if that's something you want to do. How do people like the new wallet? It's just doing nothing. I don't even know if they care. To me, I only care about how long it takes to get there and how efficient it is. I like wallets that if you put an invalid address in, they'll just not do the transaction and you get your coins back. That's happened to me before. Smart Cash, I sent it to the wrong address and then they told me that and I got the back and then I ensured I sent it to the right one and it was all good. But we'll see how this moves going forward. Nothing more to talk about here. Let's go on to No Limit Coin number 2. And this is an interesting one because I've been buying this on the way down, yada yada yada. And then it started to go up and I sold some against Litecoin. And now I'm selling against Bitcoin. This thing was at like over 10,000 and then it goes down to like 130. So just your typical 75x decline that a lot of these charts have. And as weird as that might sound, 75x down actually was a higher low. I showed the longer term chart earlier this morning. And it's just if you're looking for something like a shit coin that's got magnificent possibility for major gains, there's a lot of them out there, and I gotta think that this is one of them. I've played poker with this, and you can bet fantasy sports with it and all that type of stuff. Fantasy cryptocurrency, which is like fantasy sports. I've looked at that, have never bet it, but regardless, how does the chart action, what does it tell me? Well, when you have a move like this, the first day, December 13th, I've said it so often, I need to see it hold the 18 and where it came from. So this is where it came from. And 2 days of going sideways in here, not even close to reaching the 18 despite it starting to move up rapidly. And then this happened on Sunday. So now, well, let's try to hold this area now, I guess. You just keep on moving those levels. It's already went up about 143 to 280, so that's a 2x move. Do we have 3x, 4x, 5x? I mean, those are all possible within these wild, crazy markets. For the chances that this thing has a price point going to, we'll say, 2,000 is much higher today than it was getting above, say, 600 over a week ago or while it was in this 18 range. Or another way of putting it, there's a much better chance today that the market from this point on will have a 5x move over whatever period of time, like say a week or a month, than it did back in here for the same 5x move, because of the statement and the message of the current market. So I like how this has been performing. And as far as how I do my orders, this is the mathematics part. On November the 8th, I got in at 234.5, which meant half my order I bought at 234, the other half at 235. Then it kept going down, went down to 202, basically 15% each time, 171, 144. And then I started moving this over to the Litecoin exchange sometime in December, and I sold it for the first time 3 days ago at the first 23.5, then a little over 27, then a little over 32. So I'm buying all of this back, or at least I put a buy order in at the 15,000 Satoshi mark. The average sale, we'll say, is around 27, so I'm looking for close to half off. I could even look for lower, but I'm going to play, because I know mathematically that's a lot more coins that I'll get back than I sold if it hits. Moving it over to Bitcoin, I sold at 223, then again with the current price is now at 269. I'm going to look to buy back at the 223 at 142, and I'm look to buy back the 269 at 203. I don't want to profit any Bitcoin on the situation, meaning the amount of Bitcoin I received here is used to buy at this point. So I would gain a significant extra portion of the coins. Same thing on this one. Same thing here. The exact amount of Litecoin that I got within the sum of these 3 sales is used for this one buy order at the 15,000 mark. And one of the things I talk about is play the volatility. So if volatility goes up or down, then you play your volatility up and down within it. So all those things you see in 15% buy orders, because every single time it goes down, it only goes, I mean, you don't get 20% down days, or you don't get 40% down over 3 or 4 days too often with a lot of these coins. That's why I play for 15% declines. But when I see these large size green candle moves, well, what happened here, there was a differential of 46 basis points on 223. That's like a little over 20% of a differential. And I'm normally playing about 15%, 16% moves. So I increased it because of the first play to 20. Now I'm increasing it to the 25, 30% play. Because if it's going to keep doing this, then I'm going to have to increase the amount that I'm going to be able to buy it back. And this is getting really annoying, but whatever. It's then they say hide for now. If they put the ads, let's just put it this way. One of the big distractions I had when I went to the 2007 baseball game from the stadium formerly known as Skydome, which is now Rogers Center, that the advertisements that were there compared to when I was a kid, or teenager rather, were a lot more. Man, they just, sucks that they were there. Anyway, the volatility is higher, play upon such. When we look at this on a shorter term time frame, 4 hours has been magnificent level of support thus far, and breaking resistance. It did so on this candle here, had a decent leg higher, corrected through time, broke resistance again. It's had another decent leg higher. On the single hour time frame, what have we seen? Well, since this little break in here, we've topped at about 286. It's consolidating through time. Price action declines a bit more. I'd be looking for it to go down to 214 to about 231. And if it breaks resistance, it could be a very large gain. But obviously, it's going to come back to where it came from, and it can go up and down so fast, just like was the case up before Halloween or October 26. It goes way up and then way down again. Let's take a look to see if we can see more on that move on the 4 hour time frame while I'm at it. So we can see in here that just a fast move, and it declined it fast and then just grinding its way more so to the downside thereafter. So that's something to keep in mind for here. This was, again, just something that happened in one fast play. Big difference compared to now. As this rally here was under 4 hours, in the current rally, well, there's several of these 4 hour periods. So holding 214 area to me, or 200 even, that I think is very, very important, which is why when I look at my buy orders, my highest buy order, that's why it's at 203. So that will be the conclusion for this evening's video. I'd like to thank you for tuning in. Any of the sharing of the video, liking, commenting, all that type of stuff greatly is appreciated. And have yourself a good week. Bye-bye.